We're now more than 4,700. So gracias a todos ustedes who have already subscribed, and if you haven't yet, or if this is your first time here, go ahead and hit that subscribe button to join La Comunidad. Alright, so look, no matter how good your Spanish gets, there's always gonna be that moment where you have to say, huh? Can you repeat that? This might be because you just didn't understand them, they use words that you don't know, or even because it's just too loud and you just couldn't hear them. But especially in the beginner stages of your learning journey, it's going to be incredibly valuable to know how to ask somebody, huh, what, can you repeat that? So before we dive in, it's going to be important that you remember the difference between tú and usted. And if you don't, I recommend that you first rewatch that video before you dive into this one. But if you remember the difference between tú and usted, then let's just dive in. So first up, we've got eh. This one is my go-to, probably more than it should be. But it's just so easy if I'm having a conversation with somebody and the conversation is flowing and then they say something that I just didn't quite understand, I'll just say, eh? And then they'll understand, like, oh, let me just repeat what I said. ¿Cómo? ¿Cómo is a very common way to say, how was that? You can also say, ¿qué? Which matches the English what, but is much less polite. So I wouldn't recommend using it like that. Like if you didn't understand somebody, I wouldn't say ¿qué? This is best saved for when somebody says something that is just unbelievable and you're like, ¿qué? Then you can ask them to repeat themselves if it's just so unbelievable that you're like, I need to be sure that's what they really said. To say, excuse me, for tú, you'll say, disculpa. Or for usted, you'll say, disculpe. Similarly, to say pardon, for tú, you'll say, perdona, and for usted, you'll say perdone. These two often get confused with perdón, which means like I'm sorry, rather than excuse me. So in this case, you want to either use perdone or perdona. In Mexico, you can use mande. This is more like a more formal version of como. So on the scale of formality, we've got que at the bottom because that's kind of rude. Then we've got como, and then we've got mande. But again, this is very specific to the Mexican dialect. So if you use this in a different country, they may or may not understand you. The last one we're going to go over before we get into how to ask someone to repeat themselves is going to be a little bit more advanced just because it's in the past tense. But you should still practice and memorize these even though you probably haven't learned the past tense yet. To ask, what did you say? You could say, ¿Cómo dijiste? For tú, or ¿Cómo dijo? For usted. Again, using como is the most polite way to do it, but you can also say, ¿Qué dijiste? Or ¿Qué dijo? Alright, so we're going to end this lesson by learning how to ask somebody to repeat themselves. You can say, repita, por favor, or más despacio, por favor. If you're a little bit more advanced or adventurous, here are some other ones you can use. Each of these start with podrías for tú or podría for usted. And what this means is, could you? I'm going to give all of these examples using the tú form, but just know that you can also use usted. ¿Podrías repetirlo? ¿Podrías decirlo de nuevo? ¿Podrías decirlo otra vez? ¿Podrías decirlo con otras palabras? ¿Podrías decirlo de nuevo más lento? And lastly, ¿podrías parafrasear lo que dijiste? It's incredibly helpful to know as many of these as possible to give yourself more options in the moment. Because when you can't understand somebody, asking como doesn't sound nearly as good as Más despacio, por favor. ¿Podrías decirlo con otras palabras? If you've used several of these and you still can't understand them, then you can just end it with No entiendo, lo siento. Todavía estoy aprendiendo. So now you know a bunch of things that you can say if you didn't understand what somebody said in Spanish. So please give this video a like if you learned something, drop a comment if you have questions, and subscribe for more. Gracias por estar aquí. Hasta la próxima.